All right, guys. Welcome back. Episode 12, New World Fantasy Football. Very special guest today, Chris Miro. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, guys. What's going on?
Same old, same old. Little bit about yourself, man. Go ahead and tell us about your amazing journey to being a Jets fan.
All right. So, my name is Chris Miro. I'm born in New York, so that's an easy way to get some New York fandom there. But my neighborhood specifically was Mets, Jets. So those are my two till the end. Jets. I mean, they were kind of relevant when I was like 9 when it first started.
How old are you now?
About to be 33. So it's been a long time coming. Hopefully this will be our most relevant season since 2009, 2010 AFC Championship games. And just excited. This is the best time for Jets fans usually. Just the anticipation and the hope,
For sure. I think most of us fans of any team, that's true. So would you say that this year you're going to be more of a Jets fan or more of a fan of your fantasy team?
I think, with the Jets having, I think, like 7 primetime games, it's going to be really, really nice to be able to watch Red Zone and just enjoy that and not have to stress about my team on the other phone or whatever it is, and just be able to sit back and relax in primetime and watch the Jets break my heart or whatever happens. So,
well, we're certainly I'm rooting for your Jets somewhat. I am not a hater just because I'm a Giants fan, unless they play, and then it's a big deal, which they do this year.
Yep, they do.
So we'll see. I mean, the Giants are supposed to be halfway decent themselves. Hopefully it's a good game. Speaking of, well, not really speaking of good games, bad games, in my opinion, I want to rant about this a little bit because not much NFL news. We're waiting on the drops of D-Hop and Cook and Zeke and all those guys who are going to be like atom bombs and wherever they land, atom bombs for fantasy. Let me get your guys' opinion, and let me start with you, Paul, because you've been not really able to get your 2 cents in. How do you feel about Madden in its current state?
Dude, I have really no opinion about it. I quit on those games a long time ago. Really not like a specific fault of the game itself. I just obsess over fantasy football and actual football too much, and just adding to that is not healthy. So probably I was the worst person to start with asking. Now, the Twitter mob that I follow seems to have some very strong opinions in a negative direction towards that game. So that shapes my opinion, but I'm sure that you have your own thoughts.
I do. But what do you think, Miro? You said you haven't played Madden in a bit.
Yeah, I think the nostalgia factor definitely kicks in for me. That just reminds me of being 12 years old and just hanging out with all the crew and just, playing all day long. But I think that, EA in general, their model of the only way to make your online team really good or your ultimate team is to pay, this is the worst model. It turns me off completely. I'm way more into just playing to get better and make your team better that way. So that's really turned me off. But I'll probably check out Madden this year because the Jets will be interesting. I'm more excited for NCAA, to be honest. That was my jam. I think I won like 10 national titles on that NCAA 14.
What's your college team?
Right.
When I think I used a bunch of colleges, and I did. Miami was one of them back in the day. Then I was just into the colors, into everything. So
yeah. You look like a Miami guy, honestly.
I could pass, right?
With the beard and everything.
I
Yeah,
pass,
for sure. Yeah. I mean, what last name like Miro? What background is that?
My dad's from Ecuador.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it comes from like Mar is sea, and they're from a coastal town, so I'm pretty sure that's where it comes from.
Okay. So like I said, you kind of are a mystery man. I know you, and I've known you for a long time, but I don't even know that much about you.
Mm-hmm. We took like speech together in some one class together. Remember at Seminole State?
You were in that class?
Mm-hmm. It was a wild bunch.
I didn't even know that.
That was a wild bunch.
It was. Sheesh, yeah, man. So Madden. All the Maddens I've played. Yeah. Well, like you, Miro, the nostalgia of it back in like, for me, it was like the mid 2000s, was like probably like 2004 all the way up to 2008. I thought they were awesome.
Mhm.
I told Kyle last time we were on that I somewhat am, I'm like a really closeted Browns fan because the first superstar mode I ever played was a quarterback that got drafted to the Browns, and had a lot of fun, did a lot of work with them, that Madden. But today, you touched on it. The microtransactions suck, but the game itself just sucks. Like, everything's animation based. There's nothing based on physics. So you get like Trayvon Diggs who can like teleport across the field to like intercept any ball you throw, even like anywhere near his direction, which by the way, he's one of the most overrated players in football. Sorry. True. Hate the guy, hate his team. Anyways. So yeah, playing as the Giants, naturally I have to go up against his glitched ass all the time. And I don't know. I just think I am on the boycott Madden train. But anyways, I just wanted to get that out because it was something that was weighing on me.
Did you get the John Madden edition?
John Madden.
That's the latest
the
one.
last one, yeah. So I had boycotted it for 2 years, and I just had such an intense itch to just play a football game that I was stupid and I bought it. And I'm like, I probably enjoy it for like a week. And then I start to be like, oh yeah, this is why I hate Madden. Because a big problem for me trying to play a realistic franchise, you have like rookie or whatever the easy mode is, pro, which is like still pretty easy, all pro. It's supposed to be like hard, but not super hard. And then all Madden, which is ridiculous, where like, you know, Baker Mayfield is like prime Tom Brady, you know, and like Kendrick Bourne is basically Calvin Johnson somehow. So I'm like, which we'll talk about him today, but like, it's so frustrating because I'm like, I would like to find the sweet spot of difficulty where it's hard enough where I'm not winning 45 to 3, but then I also don't want to lose, 35 to 3 because everybody's just a mega all-star that I'm playing against. So I find that very frustrating. But
I could totally relate. I play pretty much the only game I play right now is FIFA. The same exact thing. I could in world class. I'm winning 3-1 every time. And it feels good. And then you want to go to that next step, and it's just like this is not even fun. They're just passing around me like they're making me look silly. So,
yeah. Especially like I know Paul, you like Zelda and stuff, and you're a somewhat play like fantasy games. I'm a big nerd with that. So it's like Elden Ring, which I love the game, but man, it's like you're saying when you get to those hard modes in the sports games, it's like they have the input reading. So like the second you press the button, they already know, like they know you're passing the ball there.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's hard. And EA just as a company is really just terrible. And they used to be great back in the mid 2000s, but man, they're assholes now. So
yeah, it is funny. I think that we have spent time now talking about almost every fantasy imaginable except fantasy football.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
To the world of high fantasy, virtual fantasy, as in like you're playing characters online that don't really exist. I think that's pretty funny. I also found it interesting that Miro, you introduced yourself like we were at an AA meeting. It's like I can also agree to that. Hey, I'm Paul. I'm almost 33 too, and I love sports teams also. Hi, Paul.
Yeah, really. That's what I need to back that. But, hi, Chris. That's all that was missing.
We should probably go to Fantasy Anonymous though. All of us. But dude, let's talk about some
I'm
sports.
not ready. I'm not ready to give up my addiction. Like it might affect my life, but I'm living in the storm. I'm in the eye.
It really becomes a problem when you're getting wrecked and 5:30 comes around and your wife asks what you want for dinner and you backhand her, like because you're losing in fantasy. That's when you have a real problem.
Subject change.
So what? Abuse, molestation, our favorite subjects. But dude, let's talk about fantasy football. Let's talk about these teams, and we're gonna start with, drum roll please. Miro, your Jets, because they did come in last despite having a surprisingly decent season last year. So, dude, just give us your general thoughts on the Jets as a whole. Doesn't have to be fantasy related. Just a nice intro to what you feel about your Jets this season.
All right. So yeah, I mean, I think this is, like I said, this is one of the most exciting years to be a Jet fan in a while, since Sanchez probably, and so at least that he did a little something, but having Rodgers going forward for who knows how long, I mean, we're all in, So they're trying to get the deal worked out with Quinn Williams, solidify that defensive line. I think that's huge. He's a huge factor in our stopping the run game, and this year he was crazy with sacks. So, yeah, I mean, I think our defense is going to be super, super solid this year. DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner on the outside, I think they're one of the best duos in the league. Sadly, I think Chuck Clark, I think he might be out for the year. I don't know what they said. He's injured. But we picked up another safety, Amos, who looks like a little playmaker from the Packers. So, yeah, defense, I'm hoping that they're still signing Quan Alexander back, who he put out a little – I guess he's also a rapper. He put out a little video of him in green rapping his Jets verse. I'm like, he wants back. We need him back. So that would be perfect.
The true rich homie Quan. I love that.
Yeah, really. So let's make him a little richer, bring him back. But the defense, I think, is going to be super solid, and nobody's even talking about Will McDonald, first-round draft pick. I mean, if he can do anything, that's going to be, if he can just produce anything, couple sacks here and there, and just make some strides, that'll be huge for the defense.
And he is an edge player from last year, right?
Edge, yep.
Okay, so this will be his second season.
No, he's rookie. He's rookie from Iowa State. He just drafted.
He got drafted this year. Okay,
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Well, obviously it was Sauce and Garrett last year, and Brees. They had those three. Gotcha. Okay, cool.
So yeah, defense looking super solid. I mean, Robert Saleh, that's where it starts too. I mean, he's that high energy guy. Some similar, that totally different style, but similar persona as Rex Ryan, where it's like they live and die for him, And that's I love that kind of coach. So yeah, and then of course with Rodgers, I mean, he's going to turn it around. So
that is the hope for Jets fans, and yes, you have a good mixture of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Mr. Clean over there.
Really, yeah.
And he's an interesting coach for sure. So, Paul, you talk to me a little bit about what you're excited about this offense, because obviously Miro talked about Rodgers, but there's some other names on this Jets team that we're excited about in fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I think that I feel foolish even saying this because I feel like it goes without saying, but 2 words, Garrett and Brees. I think that's pretty much where the conversation begins and ends for me from a high level fantasy perspective and in terms of like who you're going to draft. I think that I feel like Garrett, gosh, I mean, I don't know if he even makes it past the second round, which is kind of wild for a year 2 wide receiver. I can't remember, other than Justin Jeff, I don't remember the last time that's fully happened. Going in, at least for me, going into a draft cycle. Brees is exciting, but a little scary because of the recency of his injury. And Chris, I'll get your kind of thoughts on that. I know you're way closer to that. Like, what are kind of like the general vibes on in the world of the Jets around how he's coming back? Because I know he will,
Mhm.
But the question is always with these guys coming back from these major injuries, what percentage of themselves do people feel like he will be?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think hopefully they value him as highly as it looks like, and they bring him back slowly. As sad as Jeremy will be and all the Brees Hall drafters, I think they will bring him along slowly because risking the rest of his career, because we're going to need him potentially for the playoff run. That's what I'm assuming. End of the second half of the year and into the playoffs, assuming we get there, is going to be a heavy dose of Brees Hall. But yeah, I mean, I've been looking every day, hoping on one hand that they do pick up Dalvin Cook. That, I mean, imagine him first half of the year, and then we come back with the two of them strong at the end. I mean, that's playoff football right there, So yeah, I think Brees. That they usually say that first year after ACL is a little tough, but that second year, that's where it always they really move up. So I mean, he's already top of like the dynasty kind of outlook.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think right now he is being probably drafted, going to be at his ceiling. But you want somebody like that, you're going to have to pay. So yeah.
How crushing would it be from a fantasy player's real football? That would be incredible. But fantasy players' perspective, if they do sign Dalvin Cook, what do you do? What do you do with that from a draft perspective? Because each one of those guys is going to represent a heavy investment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if it was me, and I was running the Jets, I would go for Dalvin Cook. I don't know what kind of money he's looking for, but I mean, I saw a couple of videos of him 50-yard touchdown breakaway runs. He still got it, What would you do as a fantasy owner? Hope you get one of those, because they're gonna be able to get some plays. That even Brees had a couple. I think he had 80-yard catch, 80-yard rush, for touchdowns last year. So they'll be able to get some touchdowns, but you better hope you get the right one. So
he's
it'll be interesting.
He's a big play waiting to happen, and I completely agree with you. I think the first 6 weeks of the season are probably going to be pretty rough. So I that's generally a draft strategy I've been trying to stay away from, where I invest in a guy at the peak of his value, knowing that I'm probably not going to see a lot of return until like the middle to late of the season. There's a strategy around that. I don't necessarily disagree with somebody that does that. I just try to personally think about the first half of the season when I'm drafting people, because it just is 6 to 10 weeks is forever in fantasy football. So yeah, I'm completely in agreement with that. And Brees is so electric. I had him in one of my leagues, and he made me very happy, but for too short of a time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like, speaking to what Paul said, six weeks is an eternity, especially in the beginning of the year, where we're talking about redraft league, especially. You're getting what now? Is it 14 weeks regular season? That's almost 50% of your season that you're waiting on a player, and then you're unsure about. Let's just say he was out 6 weeks. His first game is like a 5 to 10 carry game, which is not really startable. I mean, anybody can get one breakaway run, and then it's like makes your season, or makes your week, but you're not really banking on that, right? So then, talk to me about who you want to draft, Chris. If you're in the market for the Jets running back, and they don't sign anybody with the coming up to September, who are you drafting? Just maybe in the back of drafts. If you drafted Brees, or you're just trying to. Maybe you did like a 0 RB and you need to get 5 or 6 weeks of production from the running.
Yeah, I mean, I like the draft pick of this year of the Izzy Abanikanda, I think his name is.
Is he the rookie?
He's from Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Okay.
He's like a Brees Jr. He's smaller, but he's like lightning. He's got so many breakaway runs. So I mean, honestly, I think I've been. Hopefully we're deep enough in where we're, Casey's not listening, but man, I would die to have Garrett Wilson this year. Going back to Packers, not this past year, but 2 years ago and 3 years ago, I mean, Devontae Adams stats of, 15 to 12 touchdowns, 1,400 yards, I mean, that's what I'm kind of expecting. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I was really strategizing about CMC, and I was hoping I could get a steal here, a couple good weeks, get a trade off, you know, and hopefully the Jets were going to struggle with a tough beginning of the season. And I had a whole master plan working up, but don't look like that's going to come to fruition. But man, Garrett Wilson this year, it's all about him.
I promise you he is listening, and I promise you it won't make a difference.
No, he was always keeping Garrett.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk about
that man hoards his assets like a dragon on a pile of gold. Good luck with that.
Yeah. I do want to kind of be the somewhat of the buzzkill here. I sorry to do this, but I think that Jets fans as a whole, and that includes you, Miro, and just speculation about them in the fantasy world, is that Aaron Rodgers is a cure-all for that offense. I mean, they ranked 26th overall, like offensive ranking. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, Zach Wilson, the combination of Zach Wilson, Flacco, and Mike White, I understand that. Aaron Rodgers is an obvious upgrade. No one's debating that. But how good was Aaron Rodgers his last couple of seasons in Green Bay? You think that he's going to come to New York and instantly be prime Aaron Rodgers again? That's the question that I think that is what the Jets season teeters on. And it seems like, especially for Garrett Wilson, it's like, well, Aaron Rodgers is going to be a badass when it comes to throwing to Garrett Wilson, and that's it. So I think that he is starting to get kind of wild in terms of his ADP. Because then
I agree. He's definitely being drafted at his ceiling, you know, with the expectation in that of those stats I had said before, you know, those
right.
Adam stats.
Right.
That's what everybody's hoping and looking for. Yeah, I mean, I hope that he found something in that cave inside of him. You know, he found that dog again. And I think, you know, it seems like everything is looking right so far, you know. I just saw something. I guess so they're playing in the Hall of Fame game. I think it's like August 3rd.
Yeah.
So that's that first, you know, preseason game. But they
who do they play, by the way? Do you know?
The Browns.
Oh, that'll be fun. Oh, you and Kyle just
that will be
gotta win this Hall of Fame game.
So when you see Breece Hall playing in the Hall of Fame game,
I remember that. That means he finished like second overall or something. So
right. Okay. Well, let's let Miro finish, because he had a point there.
Yeah. So they were talking about. There's a little clip from, I think, First Take or whatever ESPN show was about Mike Tannenbaum, former fired GM, saying that he now gives them an F for the preseason or for the offseason, where they had an A+ from signing Rodgers, because they canceled their little mini camp they were going to do, because they're going to be starting earlier because they have the Hall of Fame game. I'm just like, this guy is so salty. And then Herm Edwards comes on next, who was the coach when he was the GM. And he's like, not to disagree with you, Mike, and I was like, man, Herm was the real. He's the real deal. You know, I didn't know he was even in that clip, and he came up the second half. I was like, he's going to tell like it, and he did.
Herm is awesome.
I mean, I think the vibes are good with the Jets, so we'll see. You know,
for sure. I think so.
Loyalty extends far. He was not going to stand for that slander, and I'm not going to stand for the slander, because Aaron Rodgers had a bad 1 year. His 2021 season was actually pretty strong. 111 on QBR, 37 against 4. So really, he had one bad year this past year, which I just think if we contextualize that, like I think that obviously he lost what some people say is the best receiver in the game. I think he's certainly within the top 3. Having to bring along some young guys. And so I think, like, yes, the automatic Jets to the moon thing is probably an overreaction. The automatic, hey, these are the favorites in the division. I don't personally have them as the favorites. I have them number 2 in the division. But that's huge, right? Like, that's Because we said it all last year, Andrew. I remember talking about it. Like anybody but Wilson. Like Wilson nerfed this offense so terribly.
Yeah.
Like Aaron Rodgers, even coming in between his outcomes, I think it'll be between his outcomes, between his 21 season and 22, elevates the offense to a great level. And I know we've spent a lot of time talking about probably the guys that are going to obviously go in the first few rounds. And so I don't know that we need to spend any more time. Like Garrett and Brees are that's nobody's secret, right? I think the more relevant question is, out of the grab bag of former Aaron Rodgers favorite boys targets that he has on the other side, who should be the next guy drafted? Is it Lazard? Is it Cobb, the PPR machine? Is it Nicole Hardman for the deep shots? Like, what's your sense of that, Miro?
Honestly, I think it's the one you didn't even say, Corey Davis. He's just super solid, underrated, third down catch machine, and he just quietly gets it done. I mean, he is a former first round pick, so he's got some kind of pedigree there. But yeah, I mean, I think he's the number 2 guy. Honestly, I think that's the sneaky way if he can stay healthy, because last year he had a couple hiccups there. I think Lazard everybody's looking for, but I just don't think he's that guy. I think it was just we needed to we threw a lot of money. I think like $45 million at him for 4 years. I just don't think. I think that was the only way to get Rodgers, make him feel comfortable with his guys. So, it is what it is if that works out. But yeah, I think Corey Davis is going to be. And don't forget, I think it was 2-3 years ago now, that 21 season. You said Tunyon had 10, 12 touchdowns. So Uzama, I think he could be it. So I think the tight ends could definitely play a big role this year too.
Yeah, and you are pretty sneaky. So like the time that you picked up Elijah Moore against me on a random Thursday night.
I'll never.
No, I seriously do hate you still for that. I'm working my way through this trauma, but we're gonna get there. So it's kind of odd, and you see this. Kirk Cousins is a great example, because Justin Jefferson is arguably the 101 in drafts, right? Whether it's PPR, yes. Half PPR, debatable. Maybe you take McCaffrey, but he's at least 102, right? Yet Cousins, from consensus ADP, is the, QB 13. And then they've got Rodgers on here as the QB 15, which is like, wow. Doesn't that feel low? If we feel like this offense is going to take a jump, for sure. I mean, it has to. It's Aaron Rodgers versus the hodgepodge of Wilson, Mike White, and Flacco. Doesn't that feel low if we're ranking Garrett Wilson as, like a top 10 type wide receiver?
I think that's less about how good we think Rodgers is and more about how good we think Wilson is.
Sure. And I tend to agree with you there. To me, it's just like, it's kind of a weird parallel, Yeah. But there are plenty of examples of just that go-to guy that is fantastic for fantasy, where nobody else on the team really is worth more than a flex guy.
Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, right. Exactly. He lifts him up a little bit. Mm-hmm. For sure. So, yeah, I mean, if we get that kind of season from Garrett Wilson, and he's got 35% target share, then it is going to be, oh wow, he was worth that draft spot. But okay, let's move on. We got to talk about another team.
One very, very quick one. I know we are probably going to spend the most time on the Jets, but I thought it was interesting, Chris, that you mentioned Uzama and not Conklin. Was there a specific reason for that?
I just Conklin is more of a PPR gritty guy, and Uzama can go up and get it. I think that's more of Rodgers' style.
Right. An upside.
Yeah, I think Uzama is going to be the guy that's between the 20s. That's got to be moving the chains more. He's got more juice than Conklin for sure. So
yeah,
he knows his Jets better than I know his Jets. So, but yes, I agree with that. Now this stupid, crappy, dumb team, New England Patriots.
Which one?
Yeah,
They're all.
It's
New
not
England,
all
New
about
England
you,
Patriots.
Chris.
No, hey, Paul is kind of a Bills fan based off his roster, but
True.
so the Patriots, I do believe they're coming in last place in this division.
Agreed.
I don't care how much they get stroked on ESPN. Bill Belichick's a senile bastard.
He's losing
Dude.
his fastball. I'll say it. I'll get cooked. I don't care. He's losing his fastball.
But yeah, I mean, you're going to get a lot of hate from all 10 viewers, but who are none of us are Patriots fans.
Right.
But so this offense is just such a question mark to me. We're still waiting. Is that D-Hop shoe going to drop in New England? I don't know. I mean, I don't see why he wants to play with Mac Jones.
I don't think so. I really don't think so. Unless he's just not. Unless they're just willing to pay him more money than the other guys are willing to pay, and that just hasn't been the Patriots' way. So I just don't think so.
I think we're rolling in like, okay, so let's not even talk about the hypothetical right now because it's such a long shot. But so if they're rolling in with an offensive, armory of Mac Jones, Tyquan Thornton, Devontae Parker, and Juju, and then Ramondre Stevenson is going to be their top back.
Don't forget Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah, he's a annoying little just thorn in your side kind of guy that's going to take some targets here and there. But, their wide receiver room sucked last year, and it kind of still sucks to me this year. I think they're going to be flex desperation plays. And like, can we even name a tight end on their team? Is it still Hunter Henry?
It's still Hunter Henry.
All right, so just your typical touchdown dependent guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like 90% of all tight ends.
So I'm going to ask you guys to be kind of like miners now. Can you find any value in this Patriots offense based on their ADPs? I know Ramondre is the most.
You mean besides Ramondre? Because to me, it's Ramondre and.
Is he a value though? Do you think he's going to be a value where he's being drafted? And just to give you some context, I think he's like he's the RB12 right now. So he's surprisingly he's above Najee. He's sandwiched between ETN and Najee Harris.
Line RB1, RB2. Yeah, he probably will be. Volume is king in fantasy, and he's going to get volume. And I think he's been mostly healthy, healthy-ish. And he's entering year 3. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
Year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Give me a borderline RB1. He'd be fine, but I mean, he's not anybody that I don't think. Like, so Garrett Wilson being a borderline wide receiver 1, dude, that's a safe floor and an upside swing to me. Like, I have an unhealthy relationship with Garrett Wilson. Like, I think Justin Jefferson.
What team is he on?
Right.
We already talked about that.
I just think he has a crazy range of outcomes where Ramondre, I don't think he has the type of like overall RB1 upside, but I think he would basically return value. I do think he would return that value.
Chris, would you feel comfortable? Let's just say you had the 104 and you picked, let's just say Jamar Chase fell to you, for example. Would you feel comfortable taking Ramondre in the second?
In the second, probably not. But I do. You mentioned ETN and Najee Harris.
He's in between those two.
I think I would take Ramondre out of the 3 of them. I think they like to run up there. They, like you said, their receiving core is not the greatest. I think of any of the ones, the only one I'm really keeping my eye on is Tyquan Thornton, because second year, receivers, that's kind of their time that they make a big jump. So, because Juju, he's played out, Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I kind of like Ramondre. Like you said, like a RB10 or something. I would probably take a chance on him. I'm a little weary on ETN. But yeah, I think Ramondre will be all right. And then who else do they have behind him? They got rid of Damian Harris. He's in the Bills.
Yeah, Harris somewhere else.
So,
Ty Montgomery, Kevin Harris, and Pierre Strong.
Okay, so yeah, that's a bunch of nobodies.
Pierre
Kevin
Strong
Montgomery
will-
hasn't been on the field in 3 years, so
Pierre Strong in like week 14 will have a 4-touchdown game.
yeah,
We do know that.
yeah.
Who was that random guy that went off against the Colts like many, many years ago? He had like one good game. You remember that?
This
We're
guy's
not going to remember
Gray.
his name.
I think it was Gray, something
I
Gray.
think you're right. Yeah. And I
Oh my
was like,
God, is it Sonny Gray?
no, that's a
baseball
pitcher.
player.
Yeah, that's a pitcher in baseball.
Literally, that name triggered to me.
That one for me too. That's why I was like, I don't. It's something
Because
Gray.
of course he's like the most added player in fantasy the next
right.
week, naturally.
Right.
And it's
And-
like he's like, you're getting like 2 carries for the rest of the season. So that's what scares me a bit too about the Patriots. I know Ramondre right now, his talent is so much more than those other dudes, as far as we know, that he's demanding the carries and some targets for sure.
His volume is going to be king for sure.
But and then that's funny too, because I think that is really, he's ranked really well, because I think it's the same thing for Najee, where it's like he's got to have that volume, and we talked about that on the last episode. Chris, I'm with you. Tyquan Thornton, I don't think that a year 2 wide receiver is an automatic, slam the button on him, because I just think it's going to be just such a cesspool of crap from wide receivers, Patriots pass catchers this year, that you just kind of don't want any of them.
Yeah, I agree. You mentioned late round guy. That's the only one I'd keep my eye on.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with that. I don't think Tyquan will be amazing, but the cost is going to be, flyer in the last couple rounds. Like I think that's fine, and I agree. Just give me the guy that hasn't shown to be blah. He could be terrible. He could be awful.
He could be N'Keal Harry.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
he
God.
hasn't shown to be just average like the rest of this.
Do we think we can find some value though from Juju? Because I'd have to guess he's going to be the most targeted guy on the team. That'd be my guess, if it's not Ramondre. But I mean, like, for instance, let me look at his ADP right now. Gonna have to go down a bit. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty low. Wide receiver 48. He's, funny enough, he's right below Jacoby Myers, and then he's they have Elijah Moore after him, which people are kind of excited about Elijah Moore, but no one's excited about Juju.
We've seen this movie a couple times now.
Yeah.
I would be more in on him in a full PPR league.
Sure. Okay.
If it was PPR, I feel pretty decent about his floor. I just don't see much ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he's probably going to lead the team in targets. I mean, he's a target. He's a slot guy. But yeah, non-valuable targets going to be up there. I think they're going to be playing. Well, I guess that's in their favor. They're going to be playing from the behind a lot. I think with the Dolphins, with the Bills, and hopefully the Jets can have an offense like that where those two are scoring nonstop. So. They're gonna have to throw a lot. I just don't know. He's played out.
For sure. And that's one reason to fade Ramondre too, because he's got to go against that amazing Jets defense. Just oh my God, it'd be so good. Will McDonald, Quentin Williams. So 2 times a year, man. I don't know.
We take good care of our guests here, as you can see. both of these pods have become love fests on whatever team has joined us. We need the next one to be about the Buccaneers, and I promise you, we'll hear nothing but negative
shit all over them. We're making our way there. But I mean, the Patriots. Okay, we pretty much, just to put a bow on it, they're kind of just going to be a bit of a mess this year and not exactly exciting. If you have Ramondre, you're probably going to be fine with them. Other than that, it's good luck. Hunter Henry will be in tight end leagues, will be like a hope and a prayer kind of pickup every so often.
Yeah.
And their defense will probably be average. I think the Patriots are going to be an average team. So the Dolphins, one of the most exciting teams in the NFL right now, I would say. And probably a dark horse to win the division, actually.
Yeah, I can say that. They are in the dark horse category. This division's tough, man, because you could put the Jets in that same dark
Oh
horse
yeah,
category.
for sure.
I think the Bills probably are the favorite, but they don't have a chokehold. So I think this division is going to be a lot of fun within those top three.
I agree.
Their offense is super exciting. I think their defense is middle of the pack. So I think that might be what holds them back from actually taking the division. But yeah, I mean, where do we want to start? Because I think the big three on offense is pretty well established.
Well, let's talk about the passing game as a whole, and we'll get to the bigger question marks later. So, Chris, talk to me about what you're looking forward to as a Jets fan, I guess. Like, what scares you the most about playing the Dolphins?
I mean, one play, that's six points. That's definitely in the range of possibilities all the time with Hill and Waddle. So I think we match up pretty well against them. I think Sauce, I mean, he's a nightmare to deal with his length. So we'll see what they decide. I think last year they really mixed it up it wasn't, you get Waddle, you get Tyreek. They really mixed it up. But yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be – I'm really, really excited for the Black Friday game. It's like a 3:00 game. So just everything is first, interesting stuff. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a really exciting game. But, yeah, I think they're going to be real fun. It's going to be all depends on – and everybody knows it's all – if he can get past this concussion stuff, I mean, the Dolphins could really fly. So
let's talk about that then, because, like, in terms of Tua is scary, I think, in fantasy. He's scary for Jets fans too. I'm sorry, Dolphins fans too, because he really is the glue that holds this offense together. We saw when they had to bring in Teddy two gloves and Teddy two tendons because he's always injured. Is okay. Well, we can't operate.
Tyler Thompson, woof.
Yeah, we can't operate past Tua. Their offense just turns into complete crap. And it was I, as somebody who has Waddle on his team, once Tua was out, God, it was frustrating as hell because those targets just were just crap, just junk. It was hard to watch that offense without Tua. And I have to imagine that the Dolphins are going to be taking are going to be doing their best to keep him healthy. Like, is he ever going to leave the pocket? I mean, I don't know. He's going to be he's going to have him watch Peyton Manning film all offseason of just like, guy in your face, just go down, go down, go down, go down. Can't afford to lose you. So yeah, Tua's interesting. I think though he is getting a bit of a discount based on that fear because he had some games last year where he was in the top 3 scores.
I mean, he had a 6 touchdown game. I mean, I think
he's
definitely a high risk, high reward guy. I think that's a good person to take your risk. If you got Tyreek or Waddle up top, stacking him with Tua, I think that's a good bet. So
I agree. I mean, that can always be a good stack, and I'm kind of looking at him a bit like I don't even know if I want to call him poor man's, but we'll just go with that, like a poor man's Joe Burrow, where his production predominantly is going to come from the pocket. I know we had touched on how Burrow got like 6 rushing touchdowns last year, and that was mainly because Mixon can't find the end zone. But like, except for that one game, I know Paul gets triggered about it. I was playing against him. But like, he's got to get his production from the pocket, which is very possible with those 2 weapons. A bubble screen can be a 80-yard touchdown. We know that. So I just think you're going to get a lot of variance. He doesn't have the same floor. And then same time, Waddle and Tyreek have to be healthy too. So it seems like a very top-heavy team. If it doesn't go right for them and one of those big 3 guys in the passing game gets hurt, like their offense is really going to struggle. And then their run game is just it's a big question mark right now. So if you're drafting any of their running backs, who are you looking to draft?
I don't think their running back situation is a question mark other than health. If Raheem's healthy, he's 100% the guy and is productive. I think that there's a good chance that we could see something cooking in Miami at some point. I think that's definitely possible. But as it stands right now, it's you draft Raheem, you love the production, and every morning when you throw him out there in your lineup, you sacrifice a chicken and pray to the fantasy demons.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's a lot of hype on this Devin A-Chain guy, the A-Chain, yeah. Really fast, and that's all I know about him.
Right.
But that seems to be the MO of the Dolphins.
Yeah, I think he's gonna have, some 10 really big plays, whether how many of those turn into touchdowns or not, but he's gonna be just so high, high variance because he's gonna get long ones, and that's it. If he can get to the outside, don't let him get to the outside,
Yeah, he's
one of my sleepers, late round, wait and see,
Sure, like a stash type player.
Yeah, those guys, they haven't been able to stay healthy. When they're healthy, they're solid. If they can stay, But the Dolphins didn't have a first round pick. They only had a second round, and they took a running back. So
yeah,
seems like they're thinking about him, So
yeah, I like him in that like flyer range, last 3 or 4 rounds, and you just hope for the best. I agree with you though. I think they're just going to be a by committee type backfield. That it's going to be hard to determine who to pick unless injuries happen. Obviously, then it becomes more clear. But yeah, and we'll see. I think this is a team that preseason is going to have to play out for us to get more of a picture of that running back room, like who's out first, who's out second, who's out third. But I think they're all going to kind of rotate in, and they're going to try to use A-Chain whenever they can, but we'll see. Maybe he's just going to be a punt return, kick return specialist for his first year,
Definitely could be. I would put a good bet he'd get scores at least 1 or 2.
So pick him up. Number 1 round. What's up, Paul?
I have a question for both of you. I think that I would assume that right now Reek Hill is probably higher on ADP than Waddle.
Yeah, of course.
I assume that. I don't know that for one.
Oh yeah, he's like the fourth wide receiver 4 essentially right now. Is Reek.
Okay.
And
So
then Waddle.
Who has a better season this year? Let's call it.
Just in terms of pure stats.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I think I'm taking Tyreek Hill still. I think he still can just blow the top off. I think he's still the guy.
Yeah,
so
it's
all bug gaming for him.
I'm with Miro. I think that he just ends up commanding more targets than Waddle does throughout the course of a season. And and then they both can break them, but I don't know, man. I just think Reek has a better ability after the catch to just get loose. I don't know. It's amazing. I mean, you've been seeing the same thing last year in Miami, but going back to Kansas City, it was always like, dude, you're watching football, you're watching the game, and you see how is nobody around him? It's amazing. Where I feel like Waddle, he's a good route runner, but I don't know, man. I just think Tyreek just gets wide open. It's insane. So yeah, I have to go.
They benefit from each other, but I think that Waddle benefits more from having to worry about Tyreek. He's just got a longer history of having to worry about it,
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, if we're talking about values from an ADP standpoint, maybe we'll see. It's going to be close. I think their ADPs are right where they should be. I may even think Waddle's a little higher than he should be because just being the number 2 on a team is not the greatest. You can still get tons of value though. If he was around lower, I would say Waddle's a better value. But yeah, I'd still want Tyreek over Waddle this year.
I think Reek will have more raw stats. I think Waddle will be the better fantasy wide receiver, and the reason why is because I think he has less weekly variance. You're starting both of them no matter what. When you draft them, you have to start them. I think Waddle will have less cratering games and less blow-up games, which obviously, like, there's an entire school of thought around that too, right? Like, give me the guy that can win me the matchup here and there. But I think their stats will end up being fairly similar. Waddle is the younger player. I'm not calling Reek an old man. I don't think he's washed by any stretch of the imagination. He's incredible in terms of his conditioning. But if I have to take a bet, I think Waddle will give you more solid weeks over the course of this season.
So his consistency, you like his consistency.
Yeah.
I get you. I do feel that
so close. They're so freaking close.
Yeah, and it's cool that they're on the same team. It's hard to, like, okay, let's put it this way. Miro, if you were doing a completely redraft league, like no keepers, I know our league has keepers and all that, but if you were to say you had the 109 in the 12-team league, and you got Reek in the first, and Waddle sitting there in the third, are you happy to take that? Like, would you be all Miami all day on your wide receivers?
I think with their offense is a little too, like, maybe with Higgins and Jamar, I'd be more into that. I think they're just a little too up and down. But yeah, I mean, I think it too depends on, your roster, because if you got, I mean, like you said, Tyreek could have these boom weeks, but bust weeks too. And with Waddle being more consistent, he could be perfect for somebody that is having those other boom weeks and complement your roster. So it depends on rosters too, who your other draft picks are.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you'd have to basically, let's say you did that. So let's just say your roster was Tyreek, Nick Chubb, and Waddle. Those are your first three picks. Like,
it's a good roster. It's not a good roster.
Yeah, I think. I mean, when Dolphins win, you're going to be real happy,
Yeah, but 2 times a year, somebody is going to be covered up by Sauce Gardner, which is just nobody can catch a pass against him.
I think somebody's salty about being a little low on this guy as a draft prospect coming out. I seem to remember some conversations around that, but Sauce is amazing. But no,
the Giants wanted him. The Giants wanted him, and they had to settle for Kayvon, which is fine. I love Kayvon.
Kayvon's great too.
Yeah, he's awesome. So I'm not mad about it. It's fine.
I did the all Bills thing last year. I don't recommend it. It was really fun when it was fun, but even it's a complete reminder that even the very best offenses in the league have bad weeks, and those bad weeks are very bad for your team. So I'm preaching a little bit of diversity. You can have a stack. Stacks are good. But when you start having like a 3-player investment in one team, that's tough.
I would go Tyreek first round, Waddle third round, Tua in like the 7th or 8th, and I would get some thick frame glasses and just start morphing into Mike McDaniel. Like throughout the season, I just look a little bit more like him.
How hilarious is it that we have like the exact opposite spectrum of coaches in this league? Like the biggest nerd rage possible in Mike McDaniel, and Robert Saleh being like #football guy.
Right. He does stadiums at, before every game. So.
Like, dude, McDaniel is like the weirdest, and I don't mean this in a bad way. Like, I'm not saying like he's weird as a person, but just like the most unexpected profile of a football coach you would meet. Like, he is just very self-deprecating, kind of nerdy. Yeah, some of the jokes he gets off are just like, it's like the perfect threading the needle between being unintentionally hilarious and also like a little bit cringe.
Yeah, he seems like he should be, at a science fair, but he's, you know, he's an NFL coach. So then you've got, yeah, like you say, or like a Dan Campbell who's just like pounds espressos and like raw meat all day.
But biting ankles.
And then you get this guy who's like, got an account at Panera, got a running tab at Panera. So I don't know. It's
like he's honest talking to Tyreek Hill. He's like,
and then you got old man Belichick.
What do you think about running some routes this year, huh?
He's at Panera. He's like, yeah, I'll take the strawberry and walnut salad, please. But it's an interesting team. I think they're gonna. Yeah, everybody knows they're gonna be explosive, and you just hope you get those explosive teams. So, like, spoiler alert, I'll just tell you guys, I don't care. He has to keep Javonte. I'm keeping Waddle all day. That's been decided for me. So
enjoy that.
I hope to. I have a pretty good feeling that Reek is also going to be a keeper in our league. So those Miami, they're not even draftable for us.
Right.
From a real life perspective, Tua should not be playing anymore. But from a selfish fantasy football degenerate perspective, I'm very glad that he is sacrificing the future of his brain.
I mean, hey, what's one more concussion at this point? You know?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Right. They have a countdown until he dies, just like that other team movie.
Chris says, your brain's already jello, dog. Just lean in.
Can you still throw?
You're gonna see him in like 10 years, just off the coast somewhere in Hawaii, just like slinging rocks into the ocean, like the locals like, don't go near him. Man. He's crazy. He just
touchdown. It's a shark.
Yeah, the shark comes out and catches it. But okay, so there's one more team we got to talk about. Of course, we have to talk about this freaking team. It's a requirement. Buffalo Bills, man. The Buffalo Bills. I want to talk about the Buffalo Bills just for a second. I'm gonna lay it out there. They are obviously a good team, but they do get overhyped. I think of last year, losing Brian Dable feel like that was a big loss for them because the efficiency for Josh Allen, while he was still amazing for fantasy because he was running all over the place, throwing bomb touchdowns, don't get me wrong, but he threw a lot more interceptions than previous years, and they were just so much more turnover prone. It seemed like they were more shaky than public perception. Did they lose to the Dolphins last year?
They lost one game to the Dolphins.
They ended up losing to but yeah, I mean, they were on the edge in a lot of games. The good thing for fantasy, it was high scoring. So, Paul, I will bet that you do keep Diggs in the league. Obviously, you don't have to disclose anything, but I would assume.
There's a chance of that.
So, you also when did you draft? What round did you draft Allen last year? Was it the 4th? Yeah, that's a screaming deal, I think, for this year. And that kind of opens up a conversation too about quarterbacks. And I think that the fantasy community's starting to come around to like, okay, very similar to tight end. You've got your 2 or 3 up top and everybody else. That actually might be worth it.
Yeah, and I think, Andrew, what you're getting at, if I'm reading between the lines here, is that it's not like anybody that took a quarterback early over the last 10 years, let's say, instant shaming. We're all making fun of them. You're a noob. Chris is nodding his head. He knows. This is just not galaxy brain activity. And they're right. Generally speaking, that's true. But I do think the quarterback position is changing to the point that the outliers, the Hurts of the world, the Allens of the world, the Mahomes of the world, yeah, like you can draft those guys in the first few rounds and actually get value. It's not like the dumbasses that were drafting Tom Brady in the second round a few years back. Like, no, it does not matter how good he is. He cannot score enough points to justify that because of the positional scarcity of other positions. But now, positional scarcity aside, like, some of these guys are throwing for close to 5,000 yards and rushing for close to 800 to 1,000 yards. That's crazy, dude.
Can you do me a favor when you get a chance and just look up the rushing stats for Jalen Hurts last year?
Right.
So I think what you're speaking of there is you basically said it, position scarcity. Opportunity cost is another way to say the same thing.
Yes.
Right? So, Miro, let me ask you this. How early – first, let's ask this question. I'll ask both of you guys. Who's your number one quarterback this year?
This year, I think I got Hurts.
You got Hurts, number one. Paul?
Mm-hmm. I want to say Josh Allen. I have to say Hurts, though. I do. I just, the rushing, man. Like, Josh Allen rushes a lot, but he is not as greedy around the goal line as
he's more turnover prone than Hurts. Just the system that they play in is so good with the Eagles, and hating to admit that, it's fucking amazing. Yeah, and
it's close. It's close because I do think, like, to give context to Josh Allen's quote unquote bad year last year, he was still
I said that he still was amazing for fantasy. He just was less efficient.
He was great, but he was less efficient. He tore up his UCL on his elbow in like the 4th or 5th week, and he was dealing with that all season. So I don't think that carries over to this season. But the other problem with drafting all Bills like I did is something that doesn't go away. The weather at the end of the season really is a factor. It really is a problem. Like,
they didn't play in Buffalo in one game. Remember that?
Yeah, that was
freaking fantasy season because of that.
Okay, so let me get back to my question, Paul. Miro. So we're just we'll say Hurts. I don't care. I mean, it's close enough for me. How early is too early to draft Jalen Hurts?
I think first round's probably too early, but pretty much from there on, I think you're good for it.
So if you're
getting 2 rushing touchdown game and possibly 2 passing touchdowns, I mean, that's a little unstoppable. Jeremy, we all saw that. He had a nice advantage there. It all depends on healthy, but I mean, he's a beast, and they just push him from behind, so he just goes right into the end zone.
The rugby scrum is a nice advantage. That was also fantastic having Miles Sanders on my team.
Yeah.
For a while, then I traded him. But yeah, so if you're at the turn, you're comfortable taking him right there.
Honestly, probably. I think what I was thinking, when I was trying to get out of the Javonte thing, I was thinking just maximizing my roster completely. I thought CMC and Lamar, I think, because I was like, that's the best player I can think of, first of all, and then obviously getting that value I have at the end, which not anymore, but just locking up a quarterback right away. I've always been like, I was a Stafford, Cousins, Goff guy for a while. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Play the matchups for a couple of weeks, whatever it is, and that strategy is why I got last place. Well, not only, but part of what my thinking is.
Lamar got hurt too. Lamar got hurt too. That didn't help.
But I'm saying just strategy is just totally different this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead, Paul.
I'm completely with you on that, Miro. And obviously, the only reason I drafted Josh Allen is because nobody drafted a quarterback for the first 3 rounds. And I'm like, dude, this value just slapped me in the face. Like, why? Like, I can't let this player drop anymore because of the scoring is overwhelming. But I'm hearing you too, and that's a really great point. That it's like, you want to be the guy that's either securing the quarterback early, one of the top 5 guys, or you just don't touch it. Never the middle. Yeah. Like, either I'm securing one of the top 5 guys and I'm making that investment, or I'm just punting it to the end. I think that's what I'm hearing there.
So yeah, let me say my piece on that. I have been a late QB guy for a long time. I'm not gonna say I am anymore. Bring it back to basics, right? I think that we're seeing. I think what we're seeing now. Ultimately, back to basics. Drafting is about extracting value. That's it. And we're seeing that there are these quarterbacks that are more common now, getting a lot more rushing stats, and a lot of offenses are going to feature that rushing ability. So now the value of a lot of quarterbacks has skyrocketed to a point where it's like, if I and to what you said too, that like that variance of quarterbacks who are capable of 100 yards rushing a game, it used to be like there was like one dude. You know, like for a bit it was Lamar Jackson. Before that it was like Michael Vick. And then, I don't know, probably forgetting one or two along the line. But just using those examples, now you've got Josh Allen. You've got Lamar Jackson, obviously. You've got Hurts. You've got Justin Fields. Did I say that already?
Mahomes is in that tier only because he's an alien passing the ball.
He's in that tier, but yeah, I mean, it's because he gets 303 like every week.
Yeah.
And then he sprinkles in some rushing, but you get the point on. And then, I mean, kind of a poor man of all that is Daniel Jones. He can run for some yardage. So like, I think that is changing more than anything. It's more of the way the position is being utilized, and who they're actually choosing to be quarterbacks today are guys that have some rushing ability. So, you know, that's just to me, it's still about extracting value. So go ahead, Paul. You raised your hand.
You raised your hand.
Yeah, it's so I never used that feature. I thought it was funny.
You kind of threw me off. You distracted me a bit. I'm like, who's raising their hand in my fucking class?
I wanted you to finish your point because I know I'm bad about interrupting, and that's something I'm trying.
You got my point. Do you guys get my point?
Yes.
It's still just about value, but the value on the quarterbacks has changed. That's bottom line.
And that's why it's okay to do it. I don't blame anybody for doing it, because you asked me to look up Hurts rushing stats: 760 and 13.
13 touchdowns rushing.
13? Wow, that's even way higher than I thought.
He's an RB1. He's an RB1.
You have a quarterback one and an RB1 on your team.
What is his passing stats then?
What are we talking about?
Even if he's an average passer, you're getting the best. You're basically getting the Shohei Ohtani, of football.
And that's the only reason I have to put him over Allen, because if that's in your range of outcomes, dude, 13 on the goal line. Oh my God. Like, what is that?
Who is Mike Tolbert?
Like Allen rushed, I think, for probably just as much, but just the touchdown greed and the sad face for all Miles Sanders owners. Like, yeah, I mean, you're not wrong to make that investment, in my opinion.
So I think one more thing about the quarterbacks. I think we'll see how after this year goes. Only names I really know or heard is Caleb Williams, which will be the number 1 pick, and
Sure.
But right now, I think that I'm really sad. Well, we'll see. I don't think he's going to keep him, but that Justin Fields midseason pickup, I think that might be the end for a little bit of wait and see, and then pick him up on the waiver wire. If you don't have the stud, you're not getting the stud. You're not. You used to be able to filter through the waiver wire and find decent quarterbacks. You can find a decent Derek Carr, who screwed me a couple times this season. So
may I introduce you to Desmond Ritter?
Somebody's going to take Richardson. Hurts and all those guys. They're like you said, having that RB1 and quarterback 1 in one. That's the dream. So
everybody's on it now. You're 100% right, because I was trying to do that with Justin Fields. It's like,
right.
I watched the first few weeks. He wasn't good. I was like, ooh, like there could be some opportunity there, but I wasn't fast enough.
And it's too late.
You got to be the early bird on that. And Miro you're very good at that. I've seen you pick up players 1 week ahead of time, and you've found some value that way. But we've gotten way off track, man. The Bills.
Well, I think this is all part of the Josh Allen conversation. Like, obviously, I think wrapping that with a bow is great analysis. Josh Allen is really good for fantasy because of rushing and passing.
Yeah.
And I do think that he has hopefully a healthier and better season. So I think his efficiency is gonna kind of go back to what we expected. And Steph Diggs, I don't think there's much analysis there.
Yeah.
He is clear number one. He's a target hog. He's going to be good for fantasy, but
the conversation about the Bills has a lot more to do with the other guys.
Mm-hmm.
Allen and Diggs, we know. Like, it's the question mark of Gabe Davis. It's what's that slot receiver Shakir or whatever. Is he gonna be valuable in some way? Is a rookie tight end in Dalton Kincaid, who was a first-round pick for them, is he gonna be the first, rookie tight end to finally break the freaking mold? I doubt it. Is Fort Knox, whatever. What's his first name? Dawson Knox. Is he gonna be worth a damn? Is James Cook gonna be worth a damn? Like, these are the big questions we need to be trying to answer as analyzing fantasy. So wherever you guys want to start, man, go for it.
The running backs are fascinating. Miro, I'd like for you to start here. Like, James Cook, obviously we don't know what's going to happen with his brother. This can't be a part of the conversation today. Damon Harris, they grabbed from New England to be a hammer. Lat Murray, because Lat Murray is a cockroach, just never dies.
I know. UCF.
Tate train, baby. Tate train.
Job for them on special teams, but like, what are your feelings in terms of draft day value for these guys?
Yeah, I think James Cook is overhyped. I think he's undersized. I think he's pass catching back. But yeah, I mean that's the hard part is Damian Harris would have all the work at the goal line, but that's probably going to be filtered away too. So I think it's just going to be another season of mediocre production from running backs in Buffalo. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty much out on Buffalo running backs. I take a flyer on James Cook, and that's about it.
Yeah, and I don't see why not. I mean, he's the younger guy. That's the only, I love taking flyers on young guys. That's for sure.
We know you do.
Oh yeah. Hey boy.
The amount of times I've acquired and let go of Dev Singletary is very embarrassing, but I just couldn't. I couldn't quit. I couldn't quit him. I couldn't do it.
And it's very similar to the conversation with Kansas City because it's like, I want a piece of that offense, and the running back is available. So you're getting the piece of that offense, but then it's like you're getting this piece of chocolate cake, but then like you cut it open and it's just dry and stale and just tastes like ass, which not tasty ass. I mean,
never mind.
Gross ass. Sweaty swamp New York subway ass. So like that's not what you want, which is funny because it's like I think that we want to perceive a running back being productive on these offenses because the offenses are really good, but that doesn't always happen. And especially when you have somebody like Josh Allen or like a Jalen Hurts, who's a freaking greedy bastard and just takes all the damn rushing touchdowns, So I'm out on running backs in Buffalo. Like I said, I take a flyer on James Cook and that's about it.
I'm not out on anybody based, until I know what their ADP is. I really don't know where James Cook.
Look up James Cook real quick.
But I agree with Miro. I do think he's undersized. That's why they brought in Dame Harris.
Yeah.
But I think James Cook is the guy because of there's no proven production there because he didn't really do it much last year, but the profile that he should be the pass catching back because he flashed that in college. Mm-hmm. So yes, with minimal confidence.
So they have this is specifically for Miro. Javonte Williams is the RB 29.
ADP?
Ouch.
ADP, yeah.
Okay.
They got James Cook. James Cook is 33rd with Khalil Herbert ahead of him and AJ Dillon behind him. So there's always a world where these like tier 5 running backs, one or maybe two of them on a crazy year, is the guy who elevates himself to that tier 2, and you got a steal. I don't think it's James Cook.
We all killed Josh Jacobs last year. Everyone nerfed Josh Jacobs, and you made us all, except Tyler, look stupid.
Lucky. Made him look lucky.
Yeah.
He's not stupid. I'm not trying to say that about Tyler, but that was a luck pick for sure.
Someone had to stop the bleeding.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, he's like, oh, I recognize that name. Click. Worked out.
It kind of sounds like you are calling him stupid.
No, I'm not calling him stupid. I'm saying that was a lucky pick for him. It would have been for anybody, though. Nobody had him pegged as that.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially, like you said, Hall of Fame game starter.
I know, dude. Once that happened, that was a stock market panic.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, that was a stock market panic. It was like sort of wavering, and as soon as everybody saw him in the Hall of Fame game, sell. Like the stock cratered.
Yeah, big time.
Just goes to show Josh McDaniels is just some crazy asshole. He just does whatever the hell he wants. Yeah, takes jobs, leaves them. He just.
One of the best things that's ever happened in my sports life is Josh McDaniels accepting and then rejecting the Colts coaching offer. I'm so grateful for him, big bitch.
So
Gabe,
yeah, I was going to get to Gabe.
The stadium that is less than a mile that way.
Another UCF player. Yep.
Gabe Davis.
What are we doing with Gabe Davis? Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
Drafting him at a value spot. If he gets past his ADP, then I'll take a look at him. I'm not looking to go any earlier than necessary. I'm not reaching for Gabe Davis, put it that way.
I think last year he proved he's not a wide receiver 2. He could be a 3 or I think he's, I don't know if you guys play best ball, but I think he's a good best ball player.
Sure.
Because, he's going to be on your bench when he goes off. You know?
He's a boomer bust player.
Mike Williams light.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm interested in Kincaid. I think he's got the tight end designation, but he's more of a slot guy. So maybe he can break that mold, like you said, Marchese, but I doubt it. Maybe the only way I think he'd do anything is if he's got all the touchdowns.
He's 2 years out. He's 2 years out once they boot knocks off that contract.
Yeah.
I would be really interested with him then. But 24 years old, are we sure that Gabe doesn't have any further upside?
I didn't get burned by him last year, so like you said, if he falls to me and it's a good spot, I'm not reaching for him. If he falls to me, I'll take him. I'll take a whirl on him.
Yeah.
4 touchdown games are always that'll never be off his resume. So
Marvin Jones feels exactly the same.
Ogletree, whatever. You always remember those big games. So
there is a graveyard of receivers out there that have had blow up games that fantasy players are always chasing that high forever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just wait till we talk about the Chiefs and Kadarius Toney. I don't want to talk about him ever. Yeah.
Did you look that up, Andrew? Gabe Davis's ADP. I'm just curious where people have him right now.
Well, what was he last year? Like a 5th?
Yeah, he was kind of right in that 5th,
like
6th range last year. Yep.
Fifth.
He was getting hyped up a lot last year.
Definitely. Sure. Well, that was because he came off the playoffs on 4 touchdown games.
Yes, exactly. So he's the top of tier 6 at 38th overall. He's got, funny enough, the 2 players behind him are Jordan Addison and Kadarius Toney. And then Deontay Johnson is technically a tier ahead if you want to care about that, above him. So, okay, let's do this. Let's do this experiment.
I think I would.
So, Traylon Burks, Deontay Johnson, Gabe Davis, or Jordan Addison. Like, are you taking any of those guys? Are you taking them above or below Gabe?
Since I'm not drafted near any of you, I don't think. You guys are more in the middle and I'm at the end. I am really big on Deontay Johnson this year. You can't get any lower than 0 touchdowns, and he scored decently. So he gets 5-6 touchdowns.
You can stay there.
That's true. That's true.
I talked about this last
He's
episode.
getting a little bit better. I think I got a little hope for him.
Did you watch the last episode, Miro?
Of what?
Of this, the show you're on right now.
Oh, just the first 10 minutes or so. I always listen to it when I'm putting my baby to sleep, and then, no offense, I always fall asleep. So, cool. It's dark room, that's what happens.
Listen, a lot of YouTubers I listen to, I fall asleep to, so I totally get it. I'm glad to be your lullaby. But I did talk about that, of how Deontay Johnson is actually a value, because he averages about 6 touchdowns a year. I think it'll regress to the mean. I don't think he's going to get 0 again.
Yeah.
So anyways, I don't want to.
If those are the back-to-backs, I'm definitely Deontay. Anyway.
Sure.
The only, God, yeah.
Do you like Treylon Burks? Do you want, to me, he's intriguing.
You could get, because Treylon Burks is the only guy in that range, right, that really is solidified as the number 1 receiver on his team, I think, out of necessity.
Yeah.
Don't have a lot of confidence in that passing offense. I don't know, man. I think I probably would take Gabe Davis above those guys. I think Addison probably, I think, has the most upside, because we just haven't. I think he has high draft capital. We haven't seen what he can do on the NFL level, but he's playing across the formation from probably the best receiver in the game today. So, and
he's a good route runner, and he won the Biletnikoff Award.
Yeah. Well,
he's a good receiver.
All those things. So Addison's the only guy that I could see taking ahead of Gabe Davis, because I think we, like you said, we know who he is at this point, which is very narrow route tree, right? Kind of just taking the top off. I do think that going into his age 25 season, there's a chance that he could be better and healthier. Yeah, I mean, he's in the mix, and I'd be interested if I didn't already have a Bills heavy build. And I think that I've admitted this to you all, but I'll admit this publicly, that when I drafted Gabe Davis, I low key kind of forgot that I already drafted Steph Diggs. That was a needing a Snickers moment. I was not myself. When the group chat started blowing up, I was like, shit.
and then I think 2 rounds later, you're like, Devin Singletary.
Because at that point,
he's all in then, yeah.
At that point, I was like, you know what? I have to do this now. I got to dive in, and I made it seem purposeful. It was not purposeful.
Just thinking about team names now.
Yeah.
What team name can I pick? Let's see.
Circle the wagon.
Yes, circle jerk the wagons. Yes. I think that this is a team that is going to score a good amount of points. I think they're going to be top 5 in offense this year. So there's absolutely going to be value along this offense. It's just a crapshoot, besides Diggs and Allen, of who's going to get those kind of secondary touchdowns throughout the season. I can see a 2-3 touchdown game for a Damian Harris, a 20-yard 3 touchdown game for, you know what I mean? For Damian Harris. I can see that. I can see a 2 touchdown game for James Cook, where he has 7 carries and 2 of them go for 40 yards. I could see all this. You can obviously, we've seen it before. Gabe Davis catching 2 or 3 bombs, goes for 150 and 2. And, it's a question of when. So Miro brought it up, and it makes sense. They're a better best ball team than a redraft team, because you don't want to have to. It's scary to put those guys in your lineup. But there's going to be weeks where they're going to blow up for sure.
Yeah, I think Miro had alluded to this earlier. I do think they're really looking for a presence in the middle of the field that can extend plays. They really missed that. I think they were really disappointed with
Beasley, Shakir, Dawson Knox.
Yeah, well, the slot receivers that they had before.
Yeah, they tried a few out last year, and none seemed to work.
So I think that if they can get better production from that area, between Khalil or that dude they got from New Orleans whose name is escaping. I'm doing bad with names right now. But if they feel like they can get something better from that, I think that's the missing piece to bring back they didn't have a bad season. I mean, it's ridiculous to say a division winner had a bad season, but the magic they had with Cole Beasley in the middle from the year before to keep the offense on the field and keep it churning.
Yeah,
Allen's going to make plays if he doesn't end drives. He's going to get to the end zone. He's going to make plays. So if they can have a play extender, it won't mean much for fantasy, except it will, because it will mean that the rest of the offense is unlocked. So if they can find a way to do that, I think they get back to being pretty decent.
Yeah. I would say my biggest question mark on the Bills is just which tight end actually is the tight end one for at least for this season. And we might see a shift. I could see kind of like Trey McBride last year, where it was very, very short-lived because of just not that much season left. But we saw Trey McBride start to get into the mix. Zach Ertz was hurt, and they started actually drawing up plays for him. It didn't look bad. So I could see towards the end of the season where Dalton Kincaid kind of becomes that, takes over for Dawson Knox as the tight end one. And just, he's kind of controlling the middle of the field. So who knows?
I think
he could be valuable later on. I wouldn't draft him, but he'd be on my radar.
Yeah.
What do you think, Miro? Any last thoughts on one of your division rivals?
No, I mean, I think, like you said, it's if you want to take a bet on one of them, I think Davis is not too bad of a bet. Like I said, I think he's more of a fall to me kind of guy. But besides that, unless I get Diggs or Allen, I'm probably hands-off Bills. You guys have them winning the division?
I'm gonna go ahead, Paul. Go ahead.
Yeah.
As much as I want to say Miami, I won't. I will say the Bills, and the reason being is I think the Miami's roster is very top-heavy and fragile. So if they lose one key piece, which they probably will, it's football, at some point in the season, they're going to really struggle. I think it's going to be the Bills. I do.
I agree. Yeah, I have Patriots 4. I got the Dolphins 3 because I do think at some point something's going to happen. Everybody can't always stay healthy. They're not the Brian Flores Dolphins of yesteryear.
Another back injury.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And I don't think they got the same team that is gritty enough to win 10 games in a row to come back from something like that. So I think that they'll be somewhere in the middle of the pack. I got the Jets second, probably 10-7 or something, but close to 500. I don't think they're gonna be too. And then I got the Bills 1, probably 12-4, 12-5, whatever it is now. I think the Bills still got the division, and I think they'll be up there for AFC number 1 spot again. But I think they're just cursed up there.
Feels that way.
Yeah, just another disappointing playoff run.
Yep.
But they will lead the league in broken tables.
That's for sure.
In the
that's for sure.
Tailgates. So we all agree that Patriots will be. We agree Patriots are last. Prediction wise.
I have the exact same division breakdown that Chris has, and I literally had that written down from the beginning of the pod. I have the exact same teams in ascending order, and I agree with the reasoning behind it being depth. And I do think defense. Like, I think that in terms of star power, youth and young star power, I'd probably actually give the Jets the edge. But I think the Bills are getting healthier. You got Tre'Davious White for a full season, hopefully. Von Miller coming back. They picked up Daquan Jones. Obviously, they had a good defensive line before that. So, yeah, I think they just have the deepest team, and I'm going to go with the boring prediction. And they're going to still struggle running the ball, which is probably going to hurt them in December and January.
True. That's a good point. That always seems to bite them, to rear its ugly head for them. Yeah, so I'm pretty much – I just have Miami and the Jets flip-flopped. I think it's going to be razor thin, 1 game difference.
Ooh.
Yeah, I do. I still have the Jets being third. But we'll see, NFL
there's 7 spots available for the playoffs, so third is still eligible. You know what I mean? I think it is going to be a tight race. I think it will be close.
And when you have Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs, anything can happen. So.
Right. We just got to get there. Exactly. That. I'm not trying to go 16-0. I don't think anybody's planning on that. Just stick it out to the end, and we got the guy to get there. So.
Yeah, that'll be a fun race in that division. I hope it's close towards the end. I hope the Patriots have maybe won 1 or 2 games, and that's it. Well, maybe not, because then they'd get Caleb Williams, right?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, or Drake May, I think, is the other name that is being talked about.
No, the Patriots will never be bad enough to get that. They are going to be extremely boring 7-win team.
I think that's a great prediction, actually, Paul. I'll go with I like that.
The Patriots will take the Jets down, guaranteed. It'll be 1-1.
At least
it's a guarantee they will.
One meaningless game near the end of the season, they're going to run all over the fucking Jets. The people are going to say the Patriots are back. They're only 2 games out. And then
right.
Yeah. Well, dude, Miro, it's been awesome having you on.
This is a lot of fun.
You are a great fantasy player, great fantasy analyst, and a loyal Jets fan.
No, thank you guys.
And
really
a fellow New Yorker. I never knew what part of New York are you from, by the way?
Flow Park, right on the edge of Queens County and Nassau County.
Okay, so you're basically not even a New Yorker, so that's why you're a Jets fan.
Exactly.
Cool. So
they're based in New Jersey, so
that's true.
We need more native Floridians on this pod.
There's no such thing as a native
Are
Floridian.
there any?
They all just evolved from alligators. That's why it's Florida man. Those are the only natives. It's basically like Morrowind of
you can't see my tail right now.
The Elder Scrolls.
This is fun. We did 2 great divisions in the AFC. Can we just skip the South?
Nope.
Yeah, you should probably.
Well, that's NFC. We're doing AFC right now. Are you talking about?
Yeah.
Are you talking about NFC South?
NFC South is way worse. Yeah.
Honestly, the whole South. Can we just not talk about the Southern teams at all?
Jacksonville, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's Jacksonville, and that's about it.
I don't think we're gonna get Bobby on.
Good luck.
I mean, that would be an hour of talking about the Jags if Bobby was on.
or talking about lasers, one of the two.
Well, he'd have his calculator out the whole time. He'd be like, so actually, I'm calculating the average win trajectory. I think our kicker will make 14.7, 50-plus field goals. Be like,
amazing impression of Bobby.
Spot on, actually.
He's gonna love this.
Bobby's a lot smarter than me and a lot richer than me. I always respect Bobby. So, yeah, we should talk about that very, very quickly just to wrap up. Kicker minute. Our favorite kicker in the division. Who we got?
I'm honestly probably still Nick Folk in New England. I think he's just old man solid, and he's just got it on lock. They'll just probably get a lot of field goal tries, not get
I'd say so.
touchdown. So
unfortunately, I completely agree. They are the kings of the 65-yard offense.
Right. Yeah.
Their offense is amazing for a maximum of 65 yards.
True. I like that. I agree. Hey, man, is it still – I should probably know this. Tyler Bass, right? Is he still the kicker in Buffalo?
Yeah.
He's had some solid games himself.
But
I agree. Nick Folk. Yeah. But, okay, kickers are fun. And this is fun. So, hey, thanks, everybody, for watching. Peace out. I'm going to stop the recording, okay?
Stop it.
Later, y'all.
All right, guys.